Hello, I'm Eliza Jane Adair. I would like you to know a little bit about my life. I was born on November 11, 1810 in Tennessee. The boundaries were different back then. My parents are Thomas Adair and Rebecca Brown, both born in South Carolina with strong Irish roots. My grandparents are Joseph and Sarah Adair and Roger and Jeannie Brown. Grandpa Adair was at Valley Forge, under General Washington. My parents were married in 1803 in Lawrence County, South Carolina. Throughout my childhood, our family frequently moved across 4 states, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, and Indiana, rarely staying in one place for more than 2 years. I was 5th of 11 children. My siblings are Margaret, Phoebe, Samuel, Sophia, Thomas, Sarah, George, John, Mary, and Lainey. All of whom survived childhood, which was unusual in those days. Our family moved to Pickens County, Alabama. My father ran a cotton plantation. Here are some land plats of Pickens County from 1835, and there are many Adair families scattered around the town. At 19 years old, I met and married Samuel Wellington Carson. He was 24. We married in Carrollton, Alabama. Here is our 1830 census in Pickens County. I was pregnant at the time. We had a lady in her 70s living with us. About 1831, my father left us. We didn't hear much from him after that until 1856, when we hear he was in Mississippi and had lost his mind. My mother Rebecca still had 6 children at home. My brother Thomas Jefferson at 17 had charge of the family now. In February 1835, my brother Thomas volunteered to go to Florida to fight the Seminole Indians for 3 months. This conflict involved U.S. forces fighting against the Seminole tribe and their allies. It was a crucial period when tensions escalated into open conflict. I had 4 children with Samuel Carson, John, Valentine, Elizabeth, and William. My firstborn John died in his infancy. In 1836 my husband died at the age of 31, leaving me a widow with 3 small children. I did have my Adair family nearby to help out. They were on land 3.5 miles from the county seat of Pickens County. They just cleared 50 acres of heavy timber on it. I then married Moses Pearson. We were both 27 years old. We had 1 child with him. Her name was Margaret. After less than 4 years of marriage, Moses was killed by being thrown from a mule. I was widowed once again. I married for a 3rd time. John Price was a man born in Tennessee. We got married on December 3, 1843 in Itawamba, Mississippi. I was 33 and he was 28 years old. My brother Samuel performed the marriage. He moved to Mississippi. We moved 2 miles west of the Tombigbee River near Fulton and made a new farm. While there 2 Mormon missionaries came from Nauvoo preaching the gospel. John and I together with most of our kindred embraced the gospel with full purpose of heart. I was baptized on November 10, 1844 by Daniel Thomas. The neighborhood became excited and raised in mobs and compelled us to leave our homes, and we crossed back to the east side of the river where there was a small branch of the church. Here we remained until the fall of 1845. My daughter Rebecca was born. My brother Thomas said the Methodists very angry and they tried to persuade him to come back. He refused. They came with tar and feathers. He got out his old Younger, a double-barrel shotgun, and sat on his doorstep and told them to come ahead. He was a very good shot. The mob stayed all day but never got within firing range of his gun. Our family commenced to move to Nauvoo, Illinois, and we arrived the 6th of March 1846. We arrived in Nauvoo just days before the exodus from Nauvoo began. Thus, the journey just completed was for us an unexpected extension of travel. We were in the group of saints that were fed by quails on the banks of the Mississippi River. The First Presidency and others had crossed the river and were moving on. John would sometimes move one family on a day travel and then go back and move the other families, and so we journeyed on. My husband John Price consented to stop and put in a crop, which he did on the way. It was about 25 miles west of the river where we stopped, on the old Mason route. The family helped him all that they could, and we raised a crop and made some means which enabled us to move on. We stopped in Mount Pisgah, Iowa for some time. In 1847, we were joyed to welcome a new baby boy, George, but later a terrible sickness came upon the saints. My son William died just short of his 12th birthday. My mother Rebecca died at 62, and my brother Thomas lost his wife and 2 of his 4 children. Here is our 1850 census. We were living in Pottawatomie County, Iowa. We were a blended family with children from 3 of my husbands. John is listed as not having a job. We lost a 8-month-old boy, John Wesley, the year before. Our son Hiram was born in Canesville, which is now Council Bluffs. We started for the valley in the spring of 1851. I traveled the Mormon Pioneer Trail with my infant son in my arms. We arrived in Salt Lake City that same year. After arriving in Salt Lake Valley, we moved to Provo, which at that time was only a small settlement. After living in Provo for 2 years, John desired to go back to Salt Lake and go in the lumber business, which he did at Mill Creek Canyon. John and I had our marriage sealed for eternity in 1852 at the Salt Lake Endowment House. The next year our son Joseph Smith Price was born. At the October Conference of the Church in 1856, Brigham Young called 10 families from the southern states to found a community at a place he named Washington to grow cotton in southern Utah. We settled near the Virgin River and helped develop the resources of that country. This would be the first cotton mission. My brother Samuel led the group. During the preparation for the move, I gave birth to my last child, Eliza Jane Price. We traveled there with 5 of my Adair siblings and Mangum family. This was the second time I pioneered with new child in my arms. We arrived in the spring of 1857. By September 1857, our people had a mix of fear, mistrust, and perceived threat of an immigrant party passing through town. Local Mormon leaders chose to attack the group and killed at least 120 people. This is known as the Mountain Meadows Massacre. My brother George admitted going with the rest of his company from Washington and was present for the massacre. He possibly served as a messenger between leaders. He was indicted and arrested for his role in the massacre, but when prosecutors were unable to build a case against him, the charges were dismissed. Another of my brothers allegedly had a deathbed confession in his role. Many serious problems plagued our new community. Many of us contracted malaria and got typhoid and dysentery from bad water. The ground was very alkaline, which made it hard to grow cotton. Several families left and were discouraged. We failed to tame the Virgin River for irrigation. It broke our dams 7 times in 3 years. Our sweet daughter Eliza died before reaching her 4th birthday. We settled Dixie to assist in settling that country. Many hardships had to be endured by the family before a crop could be raised, but my husband was a hard worker and good manager, and we got along as well or better than the other settlers. My brother Thomas was one of 7 men who volunteered to cross the treacherous, snowbound Bear Valley to retrieve flour for their starving settlement. When the group was forced to abandon their oxen and wagon, he helped pioneer the miraculous quilt walking method, laying quilts on the snow to walk across without sinking, enabling them to reach Parowan and return with life-saving supplies. His efforts contributed to the survival of the Panguitch settlers. I was a midwife and healer. For years, I served as a midwife and family doctor in southern Utah and Dixie, delivering around 300 babies and nursing the sick. Traveling alone with my team and buggy, I ventured as far as Pioche, Nevada, to bring joy to families and care for those in need. I was a generous spirit. Known as Aunt Liza Price, I performed countless kind deeds, often without pay, especially for poor families. My generous disposition and dedication to traveling miles to help the sick earned me widespread love and respect in the southern country. Here is our 1870 census record. John is listed as a carpenter. George is working on the sawmill and Hiram was working on the farm. We lived in Washington the rest of our days, about 32 years. The next year our son Hiram passed away at 20 years old. We did so much to build up that part of the state. My husband was a stonemason and carrier. He made so many headstones, monuments that are still standing in the Washington and St. George cemeteries. The St. George Temple was finally finished in 1877. Within 4 years I was sealed to my parents for eternity. Some of my siblings moved to Arizona in 1878. They started a Mormon settlement called Adair Village, which is now covered by a lake. It was located about 3 miles northwest of Show Low. We stayed back in Washington City, Utah. Here is our 1880 census. John decided to take up a new job of raising bees. We were in our older years and didn't have any children in the home. We both remained true and faithful to our religion in the Mormon Church until our deaths. I was a thorough Latter-day Saint. It was my constant delight to converse on the principles of the gospel as restored in these last days, and to bear testimony to its divine authenticity. Many inhabitants left Washington City in 1889 when the dam broke. The population dropped from about 600 to only 300. But I lived to see a new dam completed in 2 years later. Cotton was no longer grown much after the arrival of the railroad, which brought inexpensive cotton from the south. I died on August 16, 1892 in Washington, Utah at 81 years old. I had 11 kids, 35 grandchildren, 41 great-grandchildren, 1 great-great-grandchild at my death. I left John to mourn my death. This was my original tombstone. My obituary even made the newspaper. My husband John followed me in death in about 5 months. We have received a new tombstone. You can give us a visit at Washington City Cemetery. While you are in Washington, go visit the statue of my brother Samuel. I am Eliza Jane Adair Price. I lived a life of remarkable resilience, faith, and service. I faced the early loss of 2 husbands and raised children through hardship and pioneered journeys across the American frontier. I was a devoted Latter-day Saint. I crossed plains with a child in my arms, twice, and helped settle southern Utah, serving as a beloved midwife who delivered hundreds of babies across the Dixie region. Thank you for listening to my story.